let's go, let's go, there's so many village.
Okay, let me guess. You're also a monster.
It's my Halloween costume. Yes, who?
Are you an elf?
Not the elf. I am a cute werewolf, Mikey Werewolf.
Alright guys, we're going to be talking about the episode Monsters Among Us, which is the final episode of the 4-episode Halloween arc, which they also like to call Mutants and Monsters. One of the things about this episode is that it's the only episode in this arc that doesn't start with the word "the" in it.
Let's go. Chocolate will be finished.
The chocolate's not going to be finished. We've got to review the episode.
By the time you review, it will be Christmas.
It won't be Christmas. Hopefully. It's not Christmas, is it, guys? So over here we start with the turtles actually they go back to New York into their present time, and they see that New York is like overrun with monsters. In fact, at one point they mention that there's actually more monsters than when they left.
Dudes, monsters are everywhere! How are we gonna beat them all?
And at one point they actually do see themselves fight against Savante Romero as they go back in time. They do kind of explain, obviously Renette, she has like her power back from her staff, and they do explain because they actually suggest we can go back in time and try to stop it again, and they're kind of like, no, let's not do that. I mean, that's just like them just kind of try to stop some of the kind of cheats you can try to do with time travel. In this episode, we actually see some more monster demons. In fact, we kind of have these bat-like humanoid demon-like things that we actually didn't see in the other episodes. They're in New York. At one point, we actually see mummies as well, but we only see them in one scene, and then they're gone. We don't actually see them. We do see some werewolves. Obviously we have the main werewolf that we saw from the second episode of the series, and then we see one other. Maybe there's another one out there, but then that's pretty much it with werewolves. Everything else the turtles fight is pretty much.
I can't wait.
It's all right, Mikey. What do you think about this episode, Michelangelo?
Okay, let me help you.
Okay.
I was cute, and it was hot, and good guys win, bad guys lose. Like and subscribe. Let's go.
But there's a lot more than that! Some of the cool things we actually see in this episode is that we see New York has this fog-like atmosphere, kind of makes it really creepy. Obviously Raphael's still a vampire.
And soon, you'll all be changed as well.
And as Raphael is a vampire, you can tell that he's going after what he feels is the weakest-minded of the turtles, which is pretty much Mikey. We see Raphael has the garlic.
He's the cutest.
Yes, Mikey's the cutest. We see Raphael has the garlic around his neck, and then he just kind of just keeps tempting Mikey to take the garlic off him, and then eventually he does actually get Mikey to do that.
Mikey, take this garlic off me, Mikey.
We see that Casey and April actually return. They're still vampires, and not only that, we also at one point April actually bites Donatello, and then he also becomes a vampire. So things just go crazy for the turtles. I was not only they have to fight their friends controlled by Dracula, they also have to fight all these other monsters and everything. So speaking of the monsters, here we actually see what Savante's whole plan is, and basically he wants to use these monsters to go after the people who banished him and mutated him, just to get his revenge. Not only he has his thing, who I've always said to me he's always been the king of the monsters. For me, we see that he actually has his own agenda, which I actually really like, just because I liked that, like, at one point we see that Dracula is actually trying to take over, and he's like, so Savante and Dracula, they kind of have like this kind of feud going on, which makes sense because for me, for the earlier episodes, it was just kind of hard for me to see Dracula as a servant for anybody, and I'm actually really happy the way that part turned out.
You are such a dim-witted Zunderkeit, Savanti.
There are actually some really cool and like creepy scenes we actually in here. Like, in fact, there's that one point where Raphael is kind of like sneaking up on Donatello, and the way that they like quickly go to black and then show the scenes, we see that he's just, it almost looks like he's teleporting. Really creepy, something we've seen in horror movies before. It was a really cool sequence that they did. There's plenty of time for going trick or treating.
Everyone are missing a cute monster now. I'm telling you, Mikey Werewolf.
Mikey, don't worry. There's... Alright, let me just talk just a little bit more, alright?
Talk about Renette.
Talk about Renette, alright. So we got Renette here. Renette, what's actually really nice about Renette in this episode is she's not limited by her powers anymore, as they kind of like took that away from her from the other 3 episodes. Now, like, we're actually seeing her, like, you know, putting up the force field, using her staff when she actually has her staff. And in fact, there's at one point where Renette actually sucker punches Savante Romero. It's actually a really cool scene. I actually really like that scene. And of course, we got really cute moments between both Mikey and Renette, just as always. Those moments are always fantastic. Oh, there's really one odd part about this episode that kind of really stood out to me. So, at one point the turtles are fighting. They're fighting against the monsters. This is before Donatello gets bitten. We see Michelangelo has Donatello's staff, but then the very next shot, we see Donatello has his staff again. Then Donatello gets bitten by April as Michelangelo grabs the staff from Donatello at that point. And it makes me kind of curious if maybe they just actually re-edited the scenes that way just to kind of like space it out. It was just really odd. But from that moment, actually, like Michelangelo actually keeps Donatello's staff for the remainder of the episode, and that just kind of really like further my reasoning why I really think that they just kind of like re-edited that part. In this arc, we see, like, you know, Savante, he recruits, you know, Dracula, he recruits the Pharaoh Mummy, he recruits Frank, and he recruits the Werewolf. As I said, the Werewolf kind of gets downgraded in this episode as more of a lackey, as he doesn't get much screen time other than fighting, and we see pretty much like one other werewolf. The Pharaoh Mummy gets destroyed almost immediately and doesn't do anything significant in this episode, which I felt it was kind of a waste, and it was probably just pacing issues. They probably just felt that they've done everything they've already did that they wanted to do with him, and they probably had nothing else for him, that they probably just like ended it there. Personally, I really think that they probably should have like maybe even got rid of him earlier, because he didn't, other than the first episode and then the scene with the force illusions, he did not really do much in this whole arc.
Good guys win, bad guys lose.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Another point they do actually in this episode is we actually see some more time traveling, as at one point Renette's staff actually gets broken and it gets unstable as the turtles, they go into Egypt, they go into the Middle Ages. We even see the turtles and the bad guys go into Japan with the Foot over there, and the turtles actually call on the Foot to help, as the Foot just kind of run away when they see the monsters. It would have really been really cool to see like Shredder or maybe Orokusaki or something, or even Hamano Yoshi. But probably because of pacing, they probably didn't want to go into that.
Look at my clock.
Mikey, you're not even wearing a watch.
Yes, but Renette has a time thing.
Overall, I really did enjoy this arc. I really enjoyed this episode, and I really liked having a Halloween-based episode of Ninja Turtles. I will say, like, out of like the major holidays that are celebrated in the U.S., I'm really glad that they chose Halloween. I'm kind of surprised in this whole series we never really got a Christmas episode. But if they had like a choice between Halloween and Christmas, really glad that they went for Halloween.
Did you see how I drew all the garlic?
Yes.
You'll always.
yes, Mikey.
Do you want me to draw garlic to you, or you finish?
Alright. Let us know down in the comments below. What you guys think of this episode? What you think about this arc?
And my costume.
Yes, and you know what? What do you guys think about Mikey's costume? And we're curious for this year for Halloween. What are you planning to dress up as for Halloween? We hope that you guys have a fun and safe Halloween. We will see you guys next time. This little guy really wants to get some
Chocolate.
Alright, till next time, guys. Alright,
Candy.
see ya.
Let's go. Get that candy. Halloween candy.
Alright, let's go, Mikey.
That's yours. That house has more candy.
Alright, we're going to that house.
Like and subscribe. If you like this video, like and subscribe. I don't have to subscribe.
Mikey, have you seen the candy?
No. I don't have any candy. Where's the peanut butter one? I had the peanut butter one. This one. I have.
Mikey, where's your bag of candy?
I'm sleeping. Like and subscribe. I have to hold this. Wait, everyone give. Where's the peanut butter chocolate? I want that one. Like and subscribe. Put thumbs up before I find the peanut butter.